What's going on, Lions fans? It's your boy here, Ben Miller, with the West Side Lions podcast. We are back for another episode here. We are real football. The games are going on. We finally have real football games to talk about. Not preseason, not training camp, real games. Sadly, we did not start it off the way we wanted to, but we still want to talk about it. With me, as always, I've got my loyal, trusty companion here, Austin Rudlin. Austin, how you doing today, man?
Hey, I'm doing great, Ben. Uh, Hanging in there, trying to get over yesterday.
Yeah, yeah. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. But it's good to hear from you today. Today we all here are incredibly lucky to have a wonderful guest with us today. We have a writer from the Pride of Detroit website. Mike Payton is with us. Mike, how are you doing today, man?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, we really appreciate you coming on, man. Mike, like all of us here at the West Side Lions podcast, is from the west side of the state. So I feel like it's only fitting that Mike's on here with us, man. It feels good to have another West Side Lion fan here.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, gotta love West Michigan. It's cool. I actually got to see Ben not too long ago, and
Mhm.
maybe I'll see Austin around one of these days. But yeah, I definitely love
Yeah.
this side of the state.
Yep. So we like I said, super happy to have you here. So let's just get right into it here. Lions versus the Eagles. Um, it was a close game. It ended up being close. I don't think it looked like it was going to end close for quite a lot of the game, but I mean, it ended closer than it did last year. It ended Eagles 38, Lions 35, and a lot of stuff happened in this game. A lot of good, a lot of bad. But let's just kind of get into our original initial thoughts that we had after this game. I'm not going to throw Mike under the bus first. Austin, why don't you start us off? Give us your initial reactions from this game and what you were thinking afterwards.
Yeah. Look, we came out great. Went right down the field, were able to score. I was pretty pumped after that, and then I feel like we just fell flat on our face. We couldn't get anything going. Our offense was stagnant. Our defense couldn't get any stops. We were able to get pressure, and then it was so deflating to just watch Hurts, scamper around them and just keep ripping off runs. That was really disappointing to watch. It was unfortunate, but obviously we haven't had a ton of practice against mobile QBs, so we'll hope to look better against that moving on. But
Are you
yeah,
telling me? Are you telling me Tim Boyle and David Blau are not guys that you would put down for scrambling quarterbacks? You don't have
no,
them down for that?
no, and even Aiden Hutchinson, he came out and said that too.
That's funny. Yeah. Um, yeah, I agree with a lot of that stuff. I mean, we're gonna get more in depth with it here, but yeah, for sure, that's kind of what I was thinking too. Mike, what about you? What were your kind of initial thoughts after that game?
Well, it wasn't that big of a surprise. I mean, I figured that the Lions would be a lot more competitive in this game, and I picked them to win too. I thought they would keep the score a little bit lower, but we saw in the preseason against the Falcons that the Lions defense really struggles with running quarterbacks. And Jalen Hurts is way better than Marcus Mariota at that sort of thing. So I wasn't surprised to see him gash the team for 96 yards on the ground. And
Mhm.
but other than that, I mean, I think there was some positive things to take away. And I think they'll have a much better outing this Sunday against Washington. But I'm sure we'll get into that a little later.
Yeah, for sure. I had a lot of those same initial thoughts. I definitely was a little bit frightened going into the game, knowing that they have such a good mobile quarterback. I mean, just look at how he torched us last year. Um, my thoughts going into this game were, the Eagles got significantly better, I think, this offseason, had probably one of the better off seasons of any NFL team, and they beat us really bad last year. So I was very interested to see how the Lions would be able to match up to them this year with the Eagles already being much better. So I wasn't as upset. I did figure Eagles were gonna win. I actually figured that they were gonna win for a lot larger of a margin, but um, I wasn't as disappointed as what I thought I would be at the end of the game, just because kind of where I already had my expectations, as I think a lot of Lions fans had for this game. Um, Mike, like you said, you chose them to win, but I don't think there was very many um, people out here that had picked the Lions to win this game, um, and I feel like it was for good reason.
Yeah, totally understandable.
So let's go into some of the positives that did happen from this game. We'll kind of just go around here in circle, and we'll each pick a thing that maybe we saw as positives until we kind of run out. I'll start off with first. I'll just throw out to you guys. Who do Austin? I'll start with you. Who do you think? And I feel like this is going to be pretty unanimous and pretty easy. Who do you feel like would be the player of the game for this game?
Hmm.
And this is taking much longer than I feel like it should need to be.
Well, I mean, there's quite a few different names that I could think of. If I want to go offense, I'd probably go with Swift. He had some, really great runs, and was able to definitely open up some passing lanes for us as well.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, who are those other guys you were thinking about?
Defense, I was thinking about Malcolm Rodriguez.
Okay.
Obviously,
talk about.
Aiden Hutchinson as well. I think
we'll
that's where
probably
you
talk
wanted
about
me to go.
No, I was 100%. And Mike, I don't. You chime in here as well if you agree. I definitely thought Swift was by far the player of the game this game.
Yeah, I mean, he had a career game and had the most yards that he's ever had in his career. He also became the first Lions running back since 1996, which I don't even know if either of you guys were born at that point.
Yeah, when I was born. Yep.
Okay. He was the first Lions running back since 96, which was Barry Sanders, to run for 100 yards in the first week of the season. So there was a lot to love there about DeAndre Swift's game. And you saw some of that stuff on Hard Knocks, him working with Deuce Staley and Deuce mentoring him and saying, go inside and don't give up on the run late. And you saw a lot of things, especially on that late pass to Swift where he almost ran it in. You saw that he was kind of lower in the shoulder and he was getting it for every inch that he could. And then, I'm going to go with Austin here. Malcolm Rodriguez is just, been the biggest surprise really of the season, I think, for everybody. And he had a great game. Hit tossed Travis Kelce, which was pretty cool to see as a former wrestler myself. And he was the Lions' highest rated defender on Pro Football Focus. So that's a big deal for a 6th-round pick to be doing stuff like that. So the Lions may have stole a guy here.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he's definitely on one of my things of on my positives list. So we'll just get into Rodrigo here because I think in a game that relied a lot on linebackers and guys to kind of watch out for, like Dan Campbell said it earlier today, you got to do, your rush lanes and all that. You got to stick in your lanes. I feel like Rodrigo is about one of the only positives of that. I think Alex Anzalone had some certain spots where he looked good. He had some decent speed getting out on one of the outside runs that I think it was Jalen Hurts at that point, and he kind of went over, tracked him down, and it was nice to see. But I think I mean, we've talked about it a lot, Austin, about how linebackers are a group that we really, really have been worried about for a while. And I'm very, very excited to see Rodrigo kind of come up and play well. Austin, did you have anything else you wanted to add about, what you saw from Rodrigo?
Yeah, I mean, he played very well for, a 6th-round pick rookie coming in. Obviously, I think we were all very surprised on the level of talent that he had coming into camp and just going into this first week. So yeah, I mean, blew all expectations out of the water, I think, for what we kind of had for him.
Did you see he was still rocking that the cowboy boots and the hat walking into the game today. Love to see that from him.
He said that was going to be his game day fit for the
It's
year.
true. It's true. I mean, and he was looking good. He's out to steal all these moms' hearts. So he's got the salsa and everything. The next thing, so I've heard a lot of people talk that this might have been a little bit of a negative. However, I want to put down our pass rush as a positive for me because their goal for this game was to make Jalen Hurts uncomfortable and make him move around in the pocket, which they did because they were just consistently sending pass rush and they just weren't able to contain after they had already pass rushed. So I from where we were at last year with our pass rush, I think that, you know, at least the amount of times we were able to get back and if it was not a mobile quarterback, probably get a sack. I was very excited to see that. What did you think about pass rush, Austin?
Yeah, very well. I mean, you could see consistently throughout the whole game that they were able to get pressure on the QB. They are moving Hutchinson and Harris up and down the line. They were rushing from, the inside. They had them on the outside. They put them right next to each other in the middle and just rushed them right up the middle. It was just unfortunate, like you said, that we weren't able to actually get to the QB and get him for a sack.
Right. Mike, Hutch was rated as one of the worst pass rushers in this game. Are you worried about Hutchinson right now?
No, not at all. I mean, if this was not the right quarterback and the right game to make a judgment call on whether or not he's a good pass rusher. I mean, he definitely got back there a few times. There were multiple times, especially early in the game, where he could have got a hand on Hurts and just missed him. But I mean, he's a rookie, and things like that are going to happen. There's going to be a lot of rushing in there and missing guys, and that's just rookie mistakes. That's something that you get over time. I think the Lions are going to have a much better pass rush against a guy like Carson Wentz, who's more stay in the pocket type of quarterback, and they're going to give him a lot more trouble. But I mean, with that said, they did everything they could against Hurts, and they made him work for it. He had a great game on the ground, but when it came to passing, he was only 56% on his completion percentage, which isn't that great at all. So they made him work for everything that he got, and I think some of those runs were a good deal of those runs were a result of that pass rush where he had to get out of there and make things work. So yeah, I mean there's some positive to take from that.
Yeah, I think so too. And kind of transitioning here with what you said there about his passing game, I think another positive needs to be our defensive backs didn't have an awful game. I mean, especially Okuda, I feel like had a pretty decent game. I think anyone going against AJ Brown's going to look a little bit goofy every now and then, and that definitely happened. But I mean, Devontae Smith had a big old goose egg today, like 0 receptions on, I think it was 5 or 6
4
attempts.
targets,
So
I think.
4 targets. Okay, so I mean that it's Devontae. He was a first round pick last year, and like early on. So I mean that's not nothing. And a lot of people who have been saying, Okuda is a bust, Austin, and all of this stuff, not sure what he could be. I think this was a pretty good game for Okuda. Mike, I'll throw it right to you. What did you think about Okuda in this backfield?
Yeah, I thought he looked really good. There were a couple great pass breakups. There was a pass interference call which seemed a little iffy to me, but other than that, I mean, there was another play where he gave AJ Brown way too much cushion and wound up paying for it. But there was a lot to like there from Okuda. As a guy who hasn't really had a chance to get on the field and play as much because of these injuries that he's been dealing with. And I've long looked at Okuda as a guy that he's got tremendous work ethic. He's the kind of guy you want to have on your team, and he just needed the right coach. And Aubrey Pleasant and Aaron Glenn and Dan Campbell, those are the guys that are going to help him get over. And so far he's doing that. He had some good looks in the preseason as well. He's playing like a guy that that didn't have a torn Achilles last year. So
Right.
there's a lot to be happy about when you look at Okuda for sure.
Now, Mike, I'm curious here, because I know I've talked to Austin about this before. And I'm just curious on your mentality on Will Harris, because it seems the coaching staff loves him in certain things. Austin and myself, we just can't see what it is that they love about him. What are your thoughts on Will Harris?
I think I think it's really an athleticism thing. I mean, Will is a good athlete. I think he just mentally gets lost out there a lot, and I think he has a hard time figuring out what he's supposed to be doing. And you saw that with that big AJ Brown catch. It was, Will he kept moving his head, which it's like he didn't know where the ball was coming from, and then
Right.
he didn't turn his head at the right time and couldn't make a play on it and just got beat. I mean, that's the kind of thing that happens to Will, and I think that there's space on a team for a guy like Will Harris as a backup corner, maybe a special teams guy. I would I would not be putting him out there at an important time, but they kind of had to. Okuda was dealing with some cramps and stuff, so they kind of had to go with Will Harris. But I don't know, man. I don't see him being around after 2022 unless he really gets going. But as we
I
know, for a
thought
while
that.
it's been a struggle.
Yeah, I thought that last year. So I don't
Yeah.
know what's going on anymore at this point. Um, so let's move. Austin, I guess I'll throw it to you real quick. Did you have anything? I know you're a big Okuda hater. Did you want to throw anything in there about him?
No, I mean, I thought he played very well for the injury that he's recovered from. He looked very athletic out there. Unfortunately, he was beat on that, the one big AJ Brown play there. But he did a great job against Smith. So yeah, kudos to him.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of went along. We kind of already touched on it. The run game looked really, really good. Swift just absolutely looks like the running back that Deuce Staley is wanting him to become. And I'm gonna be honest, I was a little bit worried after watching Hard Knocks, kind of seeing his reaction to how Deuce was coaching him. I was maybe a little bit thinking that he wasn't very receptive to Deuce's coaching style or something. He just kind of looked like he was um, just kind of going with the flow and not really, having that grit kind of a thing that I think a lot of players show, like Jason Cabinda wide open with Dan Campbell giving his speeches. That's not the kind of guy Swift is, but it sure looked like Mike said, Deuce was telling him get inside. He went inside and made a big play. Or if it wasn't making a big play, he was still getting like an extra 5 yards or so, just getting towards the middle, going inside, or fighting for every yard instead of just going outside. So I think that Swift really, really was coming on there. And I think a big part of that we need to address is the O line really was looking good. Logan Stenberg did not do great in the backup filling in for Halapuli Vadi Vaitai. I think he had a 0 rating on PFF for pass block, if I'm remembering that correctly.
That's correct.
Um,
Yeah.
okay. I don't think I've ever seen a 0 on PFF before, but uh, I guess there's a first for those things. And apparently he was better in the run game. Don't know how you could get worse, but the rest of the team, the offensive line was looking pretty good. I was a little surprised Ragnow was actually rated kind of lower on the PFF as well, but I mean, Sewell looked pretty good. Jonah Jackson just looked phenomenal out there. Um, there was I forgot which play it was, but just watching him just barrel over a guy, I kind of like jumped up and I'm like, yeah, there you go, Jonah Jackson. That's what I want to keep seeing. So that was really cool to see. Um, I think that Logan Stenberg is going to kind of come along here, with a little bit more repetition. He didn't really go at right guard a lot during preseason and everything, so I think it's a little bit of an adjustment period. But I think he's going to start doing a little bit better here while Vitai's on IR. Austin, I'll start with you. What were your thoughts on the O line play here?
Yeah, I mean, overall, I thought they played pretty well. Obviously, Swift was able to get some big runs. I thought they did a really good job of making those lanes open for him. And then going off of that, even our wide receivers getting in on that as well, making some big blocks. That was huge for us. I think it was Amon-Ra St. Brown that had, two pretty big blocks that Swift was
They were
able to
all
get.
blocking really well. Like
Yeah,
they were all in there blocking.
I was really surprised on how much the wide receivers were in there blocking. That was really great to see.
Mm-hmm. Mike, do you have anything else you wanted to add on this O line?
Yeah, I was a little surprised they went with Logan Stenberg.
Mm-hmm.
I thought maybe Evan Brown would have been the perfect situation to attempt to cover in there. We saw what he did last year, filling in for Frank Ragnow, and he played really well, and the Lions were lucky to get him back. And I wouldn't be shocked if Evan Brown is, a big free agent next year. Not obviously super high paid or anything like that, but I'm sure there's going to be some teams that are going to want him. But I'm surprised they didn't go with him, and I wouldn't be shocked if maybe they give that a look against the Commanders, because Stenberg, it was rough with the two false starts in a row, and then obviously there was, Goff's sack was a little bit on everybody, I guess, but Stenberg definitely had a part in that, and but other than that, the offensive line was exactly as advertised. They were pushing people around. They were opening up holes for Swift. DeAndre Swift's got to be loving it, I would imagine. And besides that one sack that Goff took, which was kind of a anomaly, I guess, with a fumbled snap and everything, they protected him all day and gave him very little pressure. So, got to love what you see
Yeah,
there.
I think it also needs to be said, like this was a defensive line that's not a joke.
No,
It's
not at
no
all.
joke at all. I mean, it's one of the deepest defensive lines in the NFL too. Like Jordan Davis, Fletcher Cox. I mean, it just goes on and on and on, and it's all good players. So the fact that there is only one sack, and like you said, it was kind of a fluky sack. That it's a pretty big positive in my mind that was a good test, and I think that the Lions mainly won on the line of scrimmage there for their offensive line. So definitely a big plus for this team. They just got to keep it going. Got to keep it going. So those are all the positives that I had. Did either one of you guys have any other positives that you wanted to talk about real quick before we get over to some of the negatives?
Yeah, I think you know a lot of people aren't going to agree with it, but Jared Goff, really really bad first half, really bad first
Mm-hmm.
half, but he really cleaned it up in the second half and actually looked pretty decent. That right actually right after that interception, the pick six is when Goff really just started to play well, and that's kind of his thing. The tale of two halves with Jared Goff. It's last year, the whole season. The first half of the season was really, really bad. The second half of the season was much better. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's maybe a thing with he hasn't played. Uh, he played one series during the preseason, and other than that, he hasn't played since last January in a full game. So I think maybe there was some rust to shake off. But I liked what I saw from Goff, and I like the resolve that he showed too after that interception. Just a lot of quarterbacks might turtle and give up on the game after that, but he kept
Yeah.
going.
Yeah, it's a perfect segue because the first one on my negatives was Jared Goff for first half. So that works out perfectly here. Yeah, I agree. I think that Jared Goff, it started rough. I agree that I believe it really could be, it's your first game, you got some jitters, the rust off, whatever. Um, but it also, because I've seen him all last year, it also got me a little bit worried again. I was like, oh, is this going to be the Jared Goff that we're going to continue to see? Are we going to get good play? So the second half really started to, calm me down a little bit. But now the thing is, with how hot his seat is this year, we have to continue to see it for other games. He has to continue this streak. He can't just do it for a half. and get close to a comeback. He's gotta take us through a full game, and they gotta start, having a full 4 quarters of good play instead of just coming on at the end. It's just with the way his seat is right now, he's got to show a little bit more for me. Austin, what about you? What did you think on Jared?
Yeah, like you guys both said, first half was kind of, just a half that we kind of throw away. Not a whole lot to get from that. Second half was definitely better after that interception. To me, it looked like he struggled on his reads. Multiple times he was thrown into, double coverage, triple coverage. But I mean, it got better. He was, he attempted a few deep balls, and was able to connect on a couple. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I think it's going to get better from here, as he gets more comfortable, and more rapport with his wide receivers as well.
Yeah, I think so. And the way that they've looked all preseason, I really do think that it could continue to get better and better here. We just got to see it. Just got to see it. The next negative I had for this game, and we talked about it a bit already, is the running quarterback is this team's kryptonite. As of right now, we have not seen a whole bunch of running quarterbacks, so having one that we face and that is good has so far been a problem for us. I'm not going to really go too much on it because, like I said, we already kind of talked about it. But one thing we didn't really get into much, and kind of goes along with that though a little bit, is our run defense. Um, I didn't think the run defense was that great, and I was a little bit worried about this in, I think, preseason 1 game, and then I was a little less worried about it for the other 2 because our backups did pretty decent against the run, but I'm kind of worried again about our run defense. It didn't seem to do great. Austin, what did you think about the defense and stopping the run?
Yeah, definitely was not our strong suit. Um, I mean, obviously, I thought it was going to be a lot better than what we were able to show. Yeah, I mean, I just didn't see it this game.
Hmm. Mike, what about you? Do you have any positives from the run defense, or did you kind of have the same feelings that we did?
It was pretty similar feelings to what you did. The run defense was a problem last year, and it seems like that's still going to be a little bit of an issue this year. 216 rushing yards, all 4 of the Eagles' offensive touchdowns were on the ground. So yeah, there's some issues there, but I wonder how much that has to do with kind of um, the defense was kept really honest by Jalen Hurts, and you really never knew what they were going to do. And I think that kind of threw these young guys off because remember the Lions are super young, so it's something that they might be able to get better at, as the season progresses. But the lucky thing for them is they're not going to have to face Jalen Hurts every week. And you're going to go out to more stable pocket guys, coming up next week with Wentz, and then Kirk Cousins after that, and you do have Geno Smith, who really don't even know what to think of Geno Smith at this point. I guess we'll see tonight.
Right.
It's probably not going to be good, but yeah. So there's some work to be done there for sure, and they gotta start getting back there and getting contained and making sure they fix that up.
I think it's also, again, we talked about it on the other side of the ball. It's also worth mentioning this is probably one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. Um, Not a single. I mean, there was, I think, one of them that was not their normal one. I can't remember which one it was. But I mean, the rest of that offensive line is just absolutely amazing. And so th- you were kind of expecting, at least I was expecting, a little bit of some running to happen, especially like Mike said, on a young defensive line. Um, I mean, they're all veterans on Eagles side of the ball there. So you kind of also have to remember that it was kind of like a perfect storm right now for the Lions to look a little bad there. So I think I think it's positive in the fact that they didn't give up more because I'm going to say it again. Just look at last year and look at how the team did and just got just obliterated in the run game. And I think it could have been close to that way again this year, but I'm glad that they at least got a little bit better there. Another big thing that I wanted to talk about before I get into my negative player of the game is a little uncharacteristic for the Lions, but we had a few dropped passes going on, like people that usually don't, like Amon-Ra St. Brown, DJ Chark, Reynolds, even Jamal Williams. They all had drops. Like that's not like them at all. And I was a little surprised by that. Dan Campbell said today that dropped passes is like fumbles. It's kind of like, it's infectious. Once one person does it, it kind of starts to spread. So I think I'm hoping that maybe they just cut that out now because I mean there was one to Reynolds. It probably would have been a touchdown. I think Goff maybe put it a little bit outside, a little bit long for him, but I mean it hit Reynolds' hands, so that needs to be a catch. And I think that if he would have caught it, it would have been a touchdown. Um, and like I said, Jared Goff didn't do a ton of favors for them in the first half, but the drop passes, they just can't happen in order for a team to be successful. Austin, I mean, obviously drop passes is a problem, but do you think it's something that's going to be something that we have to worry about ongoing, or do you think this was just like a one-time thing, jitters, and it's done?
I think part of it was the receiver. I think part of it was Goff as well. Like you said, I feel like some of those passes were, a little outside. A few were thrown behind the receiver. So I think that's something that will improve with time as they get used to each other more. Obviously, this is Goff's first season with Chark. So that will hopefully get better. And, just continue with the other receivers as well.
Mike, are you worried about the drop passes at all?
No, not really. As we know, Amon-Ra St. Brown is it. This is like very uncharacteristic of him. The guy practices on his jugs machine every day. I wouldn't be surprised if he was doing it yesterday after the game. So yeah, I don't think that we're going to see a whole lot of drops. I've noticed that Jamal Williams has kind of had some issues with those short passes underneath. You saw that a little bit in the preseason too. So hopefully he gets that cleaned up. Man, Josh Reynolds catches that one ball. We're talking about a win today probably.
Right.
But little stuff like that, they got to get better. But no, I don't think it's a huge concern. Some of those drops were, not very well thrown balls, like Austin said. So I think going forward, you'll see some better stuff from them, especially St. Brown. I just can't imagine that that's going to be a problem for him.
Yeah. Kind of the first thing that ran through my head when he dropped that was like you said, I bet you he goes straight to the jugs machine now and he's on that thing because he's not going to want to have that happen again. So yeah, certainly I'm not too worried about it either. Which then does lead me to, in my opinion, the most negative thing that happened yesterday. I hated to see it, was Tracy Walker got ejected out of the game for double unsportsmanlike fouls. He tried to make a tackle, and I understand it. You're getting heated and whatever, but I mean, whenever a quarterback slides, you gotta go up. You can't, get a shot right to his head and then get up and immediately, take a swing at a player. Like that's gonna get you kicked out, and it did. And that's a shame to see because he's a captain on this team. He, Dan Campbell said after they signed him, this is your team. This is your team. And to come out and kind of show this, I don't know. It upset me a little bit. Mike, did it upset you as much?
Yeah, you don't want to see that kind of thing. I get it with the sliding. It's I guess it's a little subjective. You don't know. Maybe he was sliding too late. Maybe some of these guys slide early. There, it's a hard thing to control, and I get that when you're going 100 miles per hour, it's hard to stop yourself. But Tracy's got to be better than that, and I know people are going to argue on Tracy's behalf, and I get that, and that's what Lions fans do. That's what fans do. They protect their players and their teams. But when that guy is going low, you can't go low with him, and that's exactly what Tracy did. And he shouldered right to the helmet, and then even worse than that, you cannot be a hothead. You can't get up and I know you're passionate, Tracy. Like I know that, but you can't get up and swing at somebody. You can't do it. And it is a bummer because he was having a really good game up until that point. And
yes, he already had a sack and he was really starting to come on. Yeah, he was looking good. I think that the Lions probably really, really missed having him on the field there for the rest of that game.
And then as soon as he goes out, they immediately attack Juju Hughes for a big play, and it's like little stuff like that. It compounds together, and before you know it, you're losing a game. So.
Absolutely. Austin, do you have anything you wanted to add on to Tracy Walker?
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys pretty much covered it there. But he played really well up until that, and then just unfortunate play. That stuff happens, unfortunately, though.
Yep, that stuff does happen, but like everyone said, you can't then get up and swing at a player. It's just take it, move on, get yourself, take yourself away so you're not so heated. But I know that he's wanting to learn from that, become a better leader from it. So hopefully we can see that, and hopefully he just bounces back from it. But that's really all of the big negatives that I had for this game. Austin, Mike, do either one of you guys have anything else you want to add into the negatives for this game?
I got one question for you guys. What was your thoughts on Campbell's timeout and his decision to do that onside kick?
Mike, I'll let you start with this one.
Dan Campbell's aggressive. I mean, that's who he is. I'm not at all shocked by the onside kick, and I get it. When at that point the Eagles had not punted yet, and you've got to do something to get the ball back. And in fact, the Eagles didn't punt until the fourth quarter, and they only did it twice in the entire game. So they were trying to get the ball back and get something going on offense. So yeah, I mean, I get the onside kick. I'm totally cool with that. As far as the timeout goes, that's I don't know. It depends on where you're coming from it, because it's on one hand you can look at it and say, they gave the Eagles a free timeout, gave them time to get back together. I mean, they had just taken that sack from Tracy Walker. It was 2nd and 14. You want to keep that clock rolling. You want to keep everything. You want to keep that going. You want to keep that momentum going. But on the other hand, I can see how you would want to make sure that you're putting the right defense out there. You're putting the right play on that next thing. It's a really big moment, but yeah, I don't know. I think with time management, there's not a fan group in the league who's happy with their coach's time management. Like it's a little subjective to me. Coaches are going to call timeouts in weird times, and sometimes it works and you go, man, that guy's a genius, and then other times it doesn't work and you go, what the hell was he thinking? So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that the onside kick totally made sense to me. Like Mike said, I mean, they hadn't stopped the offense all game anyway. Why kick it down the field and make them, take out 9 minutes easily, just to get it to a touchdown or a field goal anyway? You might as well give yourself a shot to get the ball back, and then if they're gonna come score on you, it'll be quicker anyway. And then the timeout, I don't know, whether or not he was just trying to manage the clock so he could find the right play to call, or if he was really hoping that the defense was going to make a stop so that they could get the ball back with some time. But I mean, it's always easy to say whether or not things should happen in hindsight, because by then everything has been decided and it's easy to say yes or no. But I think, I think Dan Campbell and the way that he calls things going forward on fourth downs, his aggressive nature for play calling, is a welcome addition to this team for me. I love it. So anytime that this kind of stuff happens, even though, sometimes it's not going to work out, I I'd take those hits probably every time, for those times that they do work out. Just because I really love. I mean, it's entertaining, right? Like even if it's something like a stupid call, it's going to be entertaining. Dan Campbell's not going to stop till that final whistle blows, and he's going to make it entertaining. So, I I have no problem with it. I would prefer that he continues to be aggressive and tries to pull those things out. So I had no problem with it. Mike, did you have anything else you wanted to add for the negatives before we move on to our quick overview of the Commanders?
No, I think we basically covered everything. Run defense needs to be fixed up. You got to cut out the drops. Jared Goff has to have a better game, at the start of the game instead of in the back half. So I think we got everything.
All right. Well, we'll move on quick to the Commanders. Like I said, it's just going to be a real quick overview because we're going to do another episode next week to kind of go in depth. Um, the Commanders, I feel like, are a team that a lot of people haven't really given any thought to at all this year. I feel like they've been kind of thrown to the side for everyone, and they've kind of become like the joke of the NFL. Um, and I think that they've taken that to their advantage. I mean, they won their first week game now, but I'm not convinced that it's going to be a super difficult game for the Lions. Mike, what do you think about the Commanders? Are they sneaky good? Are they not good at all? Or what are your thoughts on them?
Well, I think you got to take everybody seriously. You never know with the Lions what the who's going to be good and who's going to be bad against them. But they've got a lot of weapons, especially in the pass game. The corners are going to get tested with Terry McLaurin and Kurt, Samuel and all these good Jahan Dotson who had two touchdowns in his first
game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Gibson too, who's really they use a lot in the pass game as well. But so they're going to get tested. Obviously, Carson Wentz is not the best quarterback in the world, so they're going to have a little easier time with him than they did with Jalen Hurts. Thank you. So we'll see where it goes. I think the Commanders are a team that could be pretty good in a couple of years. I don't know where they're at right now. I don't think that they're going to be. I think the Lions are going to win this game. Is basically what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
All right. Austin, do you have any concerns or thoughts about going into this game?
Yeah, I mean, like what Mike said, our DBs are definitely going to be tested in this. And even their defense has, a few pieces as well. They've got Chase Young and
Is Chase Young playing in this game? I thought he was injured.
is he injured? I have no idea.
I believe he's injured. Yeah.
Oh well,
Okay.
perfect for
not
us then.
expected to play. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe they don't have as many weapons as I thought.
Well, yeah, I think that's kind of the main thing that I went on was both of our defensive lines is, our offensive line I think is going to do pretty good against their defensive. They still have some players on that defensive line. Don't get me wrong, but I think without like their top pass rusher and Chase Young, I feel like the running game is going to do pretty well. I think that our defensive line, like Mike said, with a non-mobile quarterback in Carson Wentz, I really think that at least I hope that Aaron Glenn continues to dial up that NASCAR package and send in the blitz. And I think that they have the potential to really make Carson Wentz's day awful with all of the pressures and everything that we could possibly throw at him. So that's what I think I'm most excited for in this game is just to see how again our line, offensive line and defensive line play in this game and how it could possibly affect the game. So those are kind of my things to look out for in this game. We don't have anything on injury reports or anything just because it's so early in the week. But we'll throw something out on our Twitter page once we start getting those injury reports coming out. So that's kind of our just brief overview for the Commanders. And so, Mike, as I was saying, we're all going to go around and we're going to do the one thing that we think we know for this game. As I'm sure you know, it could be a projection of win-loss. It doesn't have to be, though. So just one thing that you are going to hang your hat on that you think you know for this game. So I'll actually just start it off with you here. So lead us on for the Lions versus Commanders.
I think that the Lions proved against the Eagles that they can overcome adversity. And that is a big thing that you have not seen in the past with the Lions. Those two false starts. Those two false starts at the beginning of the game, that would have killed like the last 20 Lions teams. And it would have ended that drive. They would have wound up kicking a field goal. Instead, they scored a touchdown. That interception would have killed the last 20 Lions teams. But they came out and kept scoring and got back to within 3. So they overcame a lot of adversity. That's a big thing that this Lions team has done that a lot of the past Lions teams haven't done. So I think taking that forward to Sunday with the Commanders, that's a big chip to have on your shoulder. That's a big thing to have with you. This team's going to want to win, especially after the crowd reacted so well to them last week, and they're going to have another home game. I really think the Lions are going to come out swinging in this one, and overcoming adversity is going to be one of the big things for them this season.
All right, Austin, throw it over to you. What's the one thing you think you know?
I'm going to go with a guy that I normally wouldn't give this to, but I'm going to go with Goff for this one. I'm going to say he's going to throw at least 2 touchdowns.
Okay. All right. I like that. I thought for a second you were going to say like Okuda's going to be the defensive player of the week or something like that. But
no, I'm not going that far yet.
All right. Ooh, I've been thinking about this. I really have. And I think I know that the Commanders are going to get
these nuts.
And the Lions are going to win because I've been waiting all episode to get that in there. I think Lions are going to pull this one off. I think Lions are going to get their first win at home this season. And on top of that, I think Aiden Hutchinson has 2 sacks in this game. That's my things that I think I know for this game. I don't think it's that bold.
No,
I think
not at all.
It's going to be a good one. Next week, we are going to go over this game, and we will certainly talk about all of that. I will be at the game, so I'm excited for that.
I will be too.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot. And hopefully Jake will be with us again, back with us next week to talk Commanders as well. So make sure to look out for that episode. Mike, we want to thank you again, man. We really appreciated having you on. It's been just absolute pleasure. Hopefully we can get you on again some point.
For sure. Yep. Just let me know. I'm here.
All right, man. We appreciate it. From all of us here at the West Side Lions podcast, have a good weekend and go Lions.